Look at you, standing there like a quiet storm nobody bothered to predict. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the air, that pressure behind your ribs, that strange electric awareness that today, the city finally saw the truth it spent years laughing at. Oh, they're having a meltdown now, a collective aneurysm, because the idiot, the one they dismissed, mocked, underestimated, pitied, ignored, stepped on, was the genius the entire time. But you saw it coming. You felt the fracture long before it split open. You could taste the irony before it hit their tongues. You've always been cursed with clarity and blessed with blindness around you. Isn't it funny? The world worships noise, but it's the quiet ones who rewrite destiny. And you, oh, you were silent. Silent like a shadow sharpening its own edge. Silent like a mind downloading blueprints no mortal was meant to see. Silent like a ghost studying the living, documenting every weakness, memorizing every crime, filing away every insult for today. You didn't need applause. You didn't need validation. You didn't need permission. You were building something sacred in the dark, while they were busy choking on their own arrogance. And now, look at them, pacing, refreshing feeds, whispering your name in rooms they once barred you from, zooming in on old screenshots, sending voice notes with that trembling question. Wait, was he always this smart? No, sweetheart, you weren't this smart. You were this dangerous. They just never looked closely enough. And by the time they did, too late. Too late to prepare, too late to undo, too late to pretend they didn't see it. Do you want to know the real joke? They called you stupid because you didn't explain yourself, because you didn't perform for them, because you didn't waste your brilliance proving it. You were playing chess on a board they didn't even know existed, and that's what tears them apart now. Confusion, regret, fear. A cocktail shaken by the hands of panic. Because a genius they overlooked is a threat. A genius they mocked is a bomb. A genius they underestimated is the most terrifying creature on Earth. You evolved in humiliation's crucible. You transformed in silence's cocoon. You emerged from the ashes of your own restraint. They didn't create you. They triggered you. Duality is your inheritance. Half saint, half psychopath, half angel, half demon. A contradiction that walks. A paradox wearing a pulse. You learn to forgive like a monk and retaliate like a ghost. You learn to feel deeply and detach instantly. You learn to watch gently and strike surgically. You are the definition of a threat they never calculated. A mind forged in pain, but wielded with elegance. And now the city trembles because it realized the truth. You weren't the joke. You were the punchline. The one that lands last, hits hardest, and shuts everyone up. So go on. Walk through that panic. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them run simulations in their heads trying to understand you. Let them search for explanations that don't exist. You weren't meant to be understood. You were meant to be remembered, and now they'll never forget. Because the idiot didn't become the genius. The genius just stopped pretending to be the idiot. Welcome to your era. Welcome to their meltdown. Welcome to the moment everything snaps into place. Now go claim your city. It's already screaming your name. Understood. No explanations. No stage directions. No Joker exhales. No scene descriptions, just pure script. Direct, second person, dark, manipulative, cinematic speech. Clean for voiceover. I'll restart the continuation in the correct format. Here we go. No fluff, no actions, no explanations. Just the Joker speaking directly to you. You feel it tightening around the city like a vice, don't you? that rising panic, that ugly choking realization spreading from street to street that the one they mocked, the one they dismissed, the one they labeled an idiot, was the genius hidden in plain sight. And now, every single one of them looks stupid. Oh, they're scrambling, mind racing, pride collapsing, trying to rewrite every memory they ever had of you, because the truth burns too bright for their fragile little egos. They thought you were slow because you didn't explain yourself. They thought you were clueless because you didn't react. They thought you were harmless because you didn't fight back. But you weren't clueless. You were calculating. You weren't slow. You were silent. You weren't harmless. You were waiting. Waiting for the moment when their own arrogance would expose them. Waiting for the day their laughter would echo back into their throats and choke them. Waiting for the perfect second when the whole city would realize it wasn't laughing with you. It was laughing at the only person capable of destroying their delusions. And now, look at them, eyes wide, voices trembling, pretending they always knew you had potential, pretending they saw something special in you, pretending they didn't spend years stepping over the mind that outgrew all of them. That's the part that entertains me the most. Watching people crumble under the weight of their own stupidity. Watching them realize the one they underestimated had been mapping the entire battlefield while they were busy throwing jokes. Watching the panic crawl up their spine as they finally ask themselves, what else did we miss? Because you weren't just underestimated. You were misread, mislabeled, misused, and now you're missed. By the same people who swore they didn't need you. They're replaying every moment with you like it's evidence from a crime scene. Trying to figure out how the hell they missed the signs. How the hell the idiot became the blueprint. How the hell the quiet one became the threat. But the truth is simple. You were never below them. You were beyond them. You think they're melting down because you changed. No, they're melting down because they finally saw you. Because they finally realized the mask you wore wasn't hiding stupidity. It was hiding strategy. You learned to endure humiliation without flinching. You learned to dissect people without touching them. You learned to upgrade yourself without announcing the patch. You learned to evolve in silence while they bragged in circles. You are the paradox they fear the most. Too kind to be predictable. Too intelligent to be controlled. Too quiet to be measured. Too dangerous to be ignored. And now the city is buzzing, not with gossip, but with panic. They're afraid of what you know, afraid of what you've seen, afraid of what you've become. Because once the idiot wakes up, once the genius steps out of the shadows, once the quiet one stops playing dead, everyone who laughed becomes prey. So keep walking, keep rising, keep letting their panic feed your momentum, because they're not laughing anymore. They're calculating, they're flinching, they're apologizing in advance without saying a word. You aren't just proving them wrong, you're proving you were right the entire time. And now the whole city is forced to live with that truth and choke on it. You notice how quiet they get when your name comes up now. That silence isn't respect. It's fear wearing a cheap coat of admiration. They don't praise you because they suddenly believe in you. They praise you because they don't know what else you're capable of. That's what happens when a genius pretends to be an idiot for too long. People forget that silence is a strategy. People forget that restraint is a weapon. People forget that the quiet one sees everything. And you did. You watched every smirk, every whispered joke, every rolled eye, every moment they brushed you aside like you were background noise. They thought they were safe because you never reacted. But you weren't ignoring them. You were recording them. And the moment they realized that, the meltdown began. They're terrified because they finally understand you were never playing the same game. They were competing for approval while you were collecting patterns, studying minds, learning weaknesses. You didn't care about being the favorite. You cared about being the one who knew. And knowledge, real knowledge, is more lethal than any weapon they ever imagined you holding. This is why they crumble around you now. Not because you changed, but because their illusions died. They're rewinding every moment, every conversation, every insult. Every time they mistook your silence for stupidity. And all they can think now is, what did they figure out while we weren't looking? Everything. You figured out everything. You saw who depended on attention, who lied to themselves, who hid behind arrogance, who collapsed under pressure, who faked confidence, who masked insecurity with volume. You saw them all, and the part that destroys them. They never saw you. You were the shadow, the observer, the quiet anomaly in the room, the one who didn't need to be the loudest, because you were the only one thinking. And when a thinker decides to stop hiding, the world panics. They're melting down because your existence exposes them. Your intelligence forces them to confront their mediocrity. Your vision highlights the emptiness of their ambition. Your evolution reveals the stagnation they lived in for years. You are a mirror they can't escape, one that reflects every delusion they clung to. That's why they flinch now. When you speak, they lean in. When you move, they overanalyze. When you think, they fear the conclusion you'll reach. Because you're not just the genius they ignored, you're the truth they denied. You're the version of themselves they were too weak to become. And deep down, they know it. You're the one who survived every hit without losing purpose. The one who endured every insult without losing sanity. The one who turned every wound into wisdom, every betrayal into blueprint, every setback into system upgrade. They didn't break you. They built the version of you that now terrifies them. And here's the cosmic punchline. They thought they were laughing at you. But the whole time, you were laughing ahead of them. Because you always knew how this story ended. Not with them victorious, not with you forgotten, but with the city shaking in disbelief as the idiot they mocked for years rises as the only mind worth listening to. Let them melt. Let them panic. Let them rewrite history in their heads. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them reassurance. You don't owe them conversations. Your existence is already the lesson. Your evolution is already the revenge. Your intelligence is already the weapon. And now, the whole city knows a truth they can never bury. You didn't become a genius overnight. You were a genius the entire time. And now that they've finally realized it, they're not laughing anymore. They're praying you don't remember everything. You can feel their eyes on you now. Not curious, not admiring, but watchful. Like they're observing something volatile, something they misjudged so catastrophically that they're unsure whether to apologize or start running. They don't speak to you the same way anymore. They choose their words like they're stepping through a minefield. They hesitate before asking questions. They rehearse their sentences before they reach you, because they finally understand the truth. You're not unpredictable. You're uncontrollable. You weren't chaotic. You were calculating. Every silence had intention. Every pause had purpose. Every overlooked moment was a trap they walked into willingly. They mistook your patience for emptiness. They mistook your humility for ignorance. They mistook your softness for stupidity. But you were simply gathering intelligence. On every single one of them, And nothing terrifies a city more than realizing the quiet one has a perfect memory. They know you remember the way they spoke to you. They know you remember the jokes they made. They know you remember the times they dismissed your ideas. They know you remember the smirks, the comments, the fake advice, the arrogance. And now it's haunting them. Because now they're trapped inside the one fear ego cannot survive. What does he know about me? What did she figure out before I noticed? Does he see through me now? Yes, you do. And that's why they're melting. Not because you're powerful, but because you see too much. You see their insecurities disguised as confidence. You see their lies wrapped in politeness. You see their desperation hiding behind pride. You see the cracks beneath their perfect little masks. You became the kind of person they can't lie to anymore because the truth echoes too loudly around you. And here's what stabs them the deepest. You didn't expose them. You didn't humiliate them. You didn't seek revenge. You simply evolved. And your evolution is the loudest revenge imaginable. When a genius rises without announcing it, the people who doubted them suffer in silence, because they can't admit their mistake publicly, and they can't escape it privately. They see you now, not as the idiot, not as the underdog, but as the one who walked through fire with a smile and came out with a mind sharpened enough to cut through illusions. Your presence alone holds a mirror to their mediocrity. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your confidence exposes their fraudulence. And nothing triggers panic in a city faster than realizing the person they underestimated has become the measuring stick they can't reach. Look at them now. They watch your moves like it's prophecy. They analyze your words like scripture. They copy your strategies without understanding them. They imitate your growth without surviving your pain. They don't know whether to worship you or fear you. They don't know whether to congratulate you or hide from you. They don't know whether you're their inspiration or their undoing. And that's the beauty of your transformation. You became something they can't categorize, can't dismiss, can't belittle, can't ignore. Your intelligence dismantles their understanding of you. Your success dismantles their narratives about you. Your resilience dismantles their assumptions about you. You broke their story. You rewrote the script. You shattered the version of you they depended on. And now they walk around with that uneasy whisper in the back of their mind. If we were wrong about him being an idiot, what else were we wrong about? Everything. They were wrong about everything. And that realization will haunt them far longer than you ever could. So keep going, keep rising, keep shining that uncomfortable truth right into their fragile eyes. The city isn't melting because you changed. The city is melting because you finally revealed what you've always been. The genius they tried to bury, and the mind they were never equipped to understand. They're trying to act normal around you now, but you can feel it. That tiny shake in their voice, the stiffness in their shoulders, the way their eyes dart around like they're checking exits in case you suddenly reveal more than they can handle. That's what happens when people finally understand the gravity of their mistake. They didn't misjudge you. They misjudged themselves. They thought they were the smart ones. They thought they were the sharp ones. They thought they were the ones who could read a room, read a soul, read a mind. But the moment you shifted, even slightly, their whole illusion cracked. Because now they're seeing something they were never prepared to face. You weren't in their league. You were in your own universe. And here's the part that makes their stomach drop. You never even tried. You weren't competing with them. You weren't comparing yourself. You weren't trying to prove anything. You were simply existing, and your existence alone outclassed their entire identity. You didn't chase validation. You didn't need applause. You didn't beg to be understood. You waited. You watched. You learned. And when the moment came, your growth was so undeniable, so alarming, so violently obvious that the whole city had no choice but to confront it. You became the truth they can't unsee. And truth, real truth, doesn't ask for acceptance. It demands adjustment. Now they adjust themselves around you. They adjust their tone. They adjust their energy. They adjust their expectations. They adjust their ego. They have to. Because they're terrified of being the next fool in your story. Oh, they remember how they talked about you. They remember the jokes. They remember the gossip. They remember the dismissals. They remember who they were when they thought you were nothing. And now, they're terrified of who you are after proving you were everything. Every interaction with you now carries the weight of a question they don't want answered. Does he know what I said? Did she catch what I did? Can they see through me now? Yes, you can. And that terrifies them because you're not the same person they knew. But here's the twist, the brutal, poetic twist that breaks them inside. You are the same person. You just stopped shrinking for their comfort. You stopped diluting your intelligence. You stopped dimming your instincts. You stopped lowering your frequency. You are simply showing the brilliance you always had. The brilliance they were too blind, too arrogant, too small-minded to recognize. Now every success you achieve feels like a personal attack to them. Not because you're attacking, but because your win exposes their misread. Your clarity exposes their blindness. Your evolution exposes their laziness. Your resilience exposes their fragility. Your mind exposes their limitations. You are the mirror they've spent their entire life avoiding. And now that the mirror stands tall and unbreakable right in front of them, they're falling apart, melting from the inside out, scrambling for excuses, rewriting memories, trying to convince themselves they always saw it in you. But they didn't. They didn't see anything. You didn't change. You revealed. And revelation is the most violent form of truth. That's why they're panicking. That's why their hands shake around you. That's why their voice breaks when they say your name. They aren't afraid of your intelligence. They're afraid of what your intelligence remembers. They're afraid of what your intelligence predicts. They're afraid of what your intelligence makes possible. And the most terrifying part, they can't undo what they did. They can't erase how they treated you. They can't rewrite how confidently they underestimated you. They're stuck now. Stuck living with the fact that the person they laughed at is the person they now rely on to understand the room. You flipped the entire hierarchy by existing authentically. And now the whole city knows a truth it will choke on for years. The idiot outgrew them, outpaced them, outthought them, outlasted them. And now, you outshine them. Keep going, make them melt even faster. Poops. There you are. I was wondering when you'd finally stop pretending nothing happened. Because something happened, didn't it? Something that has every single one of them whispering like there's a knife pressed to their throats. Something you unleashed, alone, with nothing but that raw nuclear solo energy they swore you didn't have. And now they're fearing for their lives, aren't they? Funny. No alarms, no warning lights, no prophecy. Just you, a quiet little storm pretending to be harmless until the mask slipped and the coven that targeted you learned what real danger feels like. You want to know the part that makes me laugh? They didn't even understand how you did it. They just watched their whole structure collapse like someone kicked the legs out from their pretty little altar. And all they could say was, "Who the hell trained that one?" Oh, but nobody trained you. That's the part that terrifies them the most. You're self-forged, self-taught, self-built. Pure instinct sharpened by pain. The kind of pain that rewires a soul and turns a quiet human into a walking paradox. And paradoxes, oh ho ho. Paradoxes get under their skin in ways bullets never could. Because while they were casting circles, you were breaking cycles. While they were chanting in shadows, you were mastering silence. While they were building numbers, you were building depth. And depth always beats numbers. A coven, no matter how ancient, no matter how coordinated, was never ready for someone who became their worst nightmare without ever lifting a ritual knife. You didn't attack them, you exposed them, and nothing unravels an entire system faster than the truth they tried to bury. Let me tell you a little secret they won't admit out loud. They're not afraid because you won. They're afraid because you didn't even try. You didn't gather allies. You didn't summon help. You didn't call for backup. You walked in alone, like some calm, smiling contradiction. And every single one of them felt that chill that says, this one doesn't fear consequences, because this one survived worse. See, that's the difference. Their power comes from numbers, rituals, secrecy, manipulation. Yours comes from endurance, from surviving things you never told a soul about, from nights that didn't end with sleep, but with rebirth, from battles no one knew you were fighting except your own bruised reflection in the mirror. They learned the hard way. A person who fights alone becomes a force that cannot be measured. And a force that cannot be measured becomes a threat that cannot be neutralized. Tell me, did you see the look in their eyes? That tiny flicker, that crack in the facade? That moment they realized your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. That's when a coven dies, not from your hands, not from your rage, but from their own fear undoing them. Because fear spreads faster than flame. And once they felt it, once the first one whispered, something's off with that one, the rest fell apart like dominoes kicked by destiny. You didn't destroy a coven. You collapsed a belief system. You cracked their shared delusion. You shattered the idea that they were untouchable. You proved, without theatrics, without threats, that one awakened, unpredictable, pain-polished soul can dismantle an entire network by simply existing in the wrong place at the right time. That's why they're terrified, not because you fought back, but because you evolved, because you became the kind of creature who doesn't need approval, permission, forgiveness, or witnesses. You became the duality they can't decode. Light with a blade behind it, darkness with a conscience, innocence wearing war paint, a saint with a death wish, a demon with a calm pulse. They've never seen anything like you before, and they don't know what you'll do next. That's the part killing them. Because when someone like you starts moving, every person who ever wished you harm starts praying to gods they abandoned years ago. Every room you enter shifts, every circle cracks, every plan gets rewritten, every coward gets haunted. You're not just unpredictable. You're the kind of unpredictable that rewrites hierarchies, and they know it. So here's what happens next. They'll talk, they'll panic, they'll obsess, they'll try to understand, but they won't. They can't. You're not following their rules. You're not even playing their game. You took down a whole coven without raising your voice, without raising your hand, without raising your heartbeat. And somewhere deep inside, you already know the truth. They were never your threat. You were theirs. And now? Now the world watches you the way a city watches a quiet, empty street at midnight. With suspicion, with fascination, with fear, with awe. Because you didn't just survive the war, you became the reason it ended. And that is what real solo energy looks like. Now go on, take another step. See, once a coven collapses, there's always that silent aftermath. The eerie calm, the static in the air, the way people start looking over their shoulders even when you're not there. That silence, that's you. Your presence, lingering like a ghost, a signature etched into the atmosphere. They're not just scared because you took them down. They're scared because you didn't celebrate. You didn't boast. You didn't post a victory lap. You just kept walking, like dismantling their entire system was nothing but a warm-up stretch. That's what rattles them. You didn't treat their fall like a triumph. You treated it like an inevitability, like they were always going to crack under your existence, like you were always the anomaly built to end them. And deep down, they know it's true. Let me paint the picture the way they see it. A lone figure, silent, unreadable, with eyes that have seen all the wrong things and learned all the right lessons. A soul stitched back together in a pattern they can't decode. A presence that feels like divinity to some and doom to others. Walking, slow, calm, deliberate, through their illusions as if their magic was nothing but cheap smoke. You didn't bring weapons. You didn't bring chaos. You brought certainty. That's the thing they fear most. Cults, covens, hidden circles. They survive off uncertainty. Maybe we're stronger. Maybe we're protected. Maybe they're bluffing. Maybe they're not what they seem. But with you, there is no maybe. When you enter a situation, it becomes a fixed outcome. No variables, no speculation, just an unspoken universal truth. If you target what's sacred to this one, you die by your own shadows. And oh, the irony. A whole coven destroyed by its own darkness, because you refuse to let their darkness drown you. Do you realize how powerful that makes you? Even if you don't, they do. That's why they're whispering your name like it's classified intel. That's why they're studying your patterns like an ancient curse. That's why half of them think you're blessed and the other half think you're possessed. They can't figure out what you are. Are you light? Are you dark? Are you angel? Are you demon? Are you victim? Are you villain? Are you chosen? Are you cursed? Here's the punchline. You're all of it, and none of it. You're the paradox that breaks their little spiritual geometry. You're the equation with no solution. You're the force that doesn't fit in their rituals or their scriptures. They tried to decode you the way they decode threats, with patterns, with assumptions, with predictions. But you're past that. You evolved beyond their metrics. You outgrew their categories. You shattered their labels the moment you stopped trying to heal and started becoming whole. That's when you grew teeth. That's when you grew wings. Invisible but sharp, quiet but undeniable. And they felt it. The coven you dismantled, they weren't scared of your strength. They were scared of your awareness. Strength can be measured. Awareness cannot. Strength can be countered. Awareness devours, counterattacks. Strength is physical. Awareness is existential. You saw them, not just their actions, but their motives, their insecurities, their cracks, the tiny fractures underneath their masks. You saw the rot before they scented the fear. And once you see rot, it spreads. Not because you push it, but because you stop feeding their illusions. That was your real weapon, not rage, not revenge, not some dramatic attack. Just the simple decision to stop pretending they were powerful. People like them depend on belief to survive. The moment you stopped believing in their power disappeared. You didn't destroy them. You exposed the truth they were hiding from themselves. And that is what a whole coven fell to. Not your fists, not your voice, not your threats, your clarity, your rebirth, your final form they never saw coming. That's why they're fearing for their lives now. Because if you can collapse a coven with nothing but insight and evolution, what else can you collapse? A network, a hierarchy, a bloodline, a generational curse, a whole city's illusion of order? You don't even know your ceiling yet, but they do. They're praying to gods they abandoned years ago that you don't realize it. But guess what? You already did. And the next time you move, the world won't see the collapse as a mystery. They'll see it as a warning. This is what happens when you awaken the one who was never meant to be controlled. Go on. Keep walking. They haven't even begun to fear you properly yet. There it is. That shift in the air. That tightening in the room. That tiny flicker in your pulse that says you're ready to hear the part they prayed would never reach your ears. Because the truth is, you didn't just take down a coven. You changed the ecosystem they fed on. And ecosystems don't like anomalies. Especially not anomalies like you. The kind that don't ask for permission, don't play by inherited rules, don't shrink themselves to keep the peace. They can handle rebels, they can handle warriors, they can even handle prodigies. But someone whose pain turned into perception, someone whose silence turned into strategy, someone whose solitude turned into strength. No. Those break the cycle entirely. And when a cycle breaks, anything depending on it starts dying. That's why the coven fell so fast. That's why everything connected to them is unraveling like a cheap stitch in a cursed fabric. Because their magic wasn't real power. It was dependency, disguised as dominance. And you, standing there with that unshakable stillness, that quiet fury, that depth carved by 1,000 betrayals. You were the first person they ever encountered who didn't give them something to feed on. You were emotionally inaccessible, spiritually unpredictable, psychologically unreadable. You starved them, and starving creatures lash out. They tried to control you, drain you, break you, hex you, manipulate you. But you didn't fall. You didn't even flinch. Do you know how terrifying that is to someone who relies on fear? You became the one thing they can't survive, a mirror. You reflected their weakness back at them with surgical precision. You showed them what they were without influence. Small, desperate, and drowning in their own insecurity. And when a group built entirely on illusion sees itself clearly for the first time, it dies. Not with flames, not with screams, not with grand cinematic explosions. No, it dies quietly, like a candle embarrassed to admit it was just wax and string all along. That's the real reason they fear you, because you didn't defeat them. You revealed them, and revelation is irreversible. Let's go deeper. They're not scared of your strength. Strength is visible. Strength can be measured, countered, anticipated. They're terrified of your absence. You don't chase. You don't argue. You don't convince. You don't collapse just because they want you small. You disappear. You vanish into that untraceable space where people like you go to reinvent themselves. And when you come back, you're sharper, colder, calmer, smarter, quieter, stronger in ways they can't comprehend. Each version of you is more dangerous than the last, because while they cling to rituals to activate their power, you activate yours by surviving things no ritual could save you from. And let me tell you something else they won't admit. They had meetings about you. whispers, late-night panics, questions like, why isn't our influence working on them? Why aren't they crumbling? Who is backing them? Is someone protecting that one? What if they're not alone? What if there's something else entirely? Ah, that one's my favorite. What if there's something else entirely? Because nothing terrifies a coven more than the idea that their target might not be human in the way they understand humans. Not monster, not divine, not holy, not cursed, just unpredictable. And unpredictability is fatal to groups that survive by controlling narrative and outcome. You didn't just ruin their structure, you ruined their certainty. And certainty is the God they worship. It's the altar they kneel to. It's the only thing that ever made them feel safe. You ripped that from under them with one silent, calculated, soul-evolved motion. That's why they act like you're radioactive, because you are. You carry an energy that mutates rooms, that exposes lies, that distorts power dynamics, that makes predators feel like prey. And they felt it. They felt it the instant you stopped trying to be good, be nice, be understanding, be patient, be forgiving, be quiet, be normal, be what they wanted. You cut the cord. You stepped out of their script. You walked out of their spell. And without you feeding their illusion, the whole coven starved to death. That's what real solo energy does. It doesn't fight the system. It outgrows it. You didn't win the war. You ended the need for one. And now you're walking forward with that calm, lethal aura that makes every enemy scan the shadows behind them. Not because they expect you to be there, but because losing you as a target meant they lost their sense of direction. You flipped the polarity. You became the hunter without hunting, the threat without threatening, the power without performing. And somewhere, in the ruins of that coven, you dismantled with nothing but evolution. They whisper the truth. We should have never tried to touch that one. Too late. You already rewrote the laws of their little universe. Now go. Keep evolving. Keep becoming the version of yourself they don't have names for. You think this was your final form? Oh no. This was just the warm-up. Ah, I see it. That shift in your breathing, that hunger, that quiet, electric readiness crawling up your spine like something ancient just woke up inside you again. Good. Because you need to hear the part they're absolutely petrified of. The part they whisper to each other only behind locked doors, with candles lit and hands shaking, praying the truth doesn't summon you into the room. See, you didn't just outgrow them. You out-evolved the entire architecture they operated in. You didn't break their rules. You broke the dimension those rules belonged to. And when someone leaves the dimension that birthed their enemies, those enemies start seeing monsters in every shadow, ghosts in every silence, omens in every coincidence. Because deep down, they know you didn't walk away. You ascended. Let me explain what that means in terms they refuse to face. A coven isn't just people. It's a system of shared delusions, synchronized manipulation, emotional triangulation, and spiritual codependency. To destroy a coven, you don't kill the members. You kill the illusion it depends on. And you did that effortlessly. You cracked the illusion by refusing to feed it. They couldn't handle that. Parasites need hosts. Cults need obedience. Manipulators need predictability. Sorcerers need belief. Predators need reactions. You starved them of everything they needed to stay alive. Your silence was a weapon. Your distance was a hex. Your indifference was a curse. Your evolution was a ritual in itself. You performed a spiritual assassination simply by refusing to play their game. And that's when it hit them. That cold, sickening realization. Oh my God, we weren't dealing with prey. We were dealing with a metamorphosis. They saw versions of you they didn't recognize. Shadows inside you that didn't obey their tricks. Light inside you that didn't bend to their influence. Agendas inside you that didn't align with their manipulation. And that's when the fear started spreading. Not the simple fear of losing. The fear of misidentifying what you were from the start. Were you human? Were you chosen? Were you cursed? Were you protected? Were you awakened? Were you something older? Something wiser? Something their rituals never accounted for? They didn't know, but they saw the signs. Oh, they saw them. They saw the way your energy shifted, how your presence started bending situations in your favor without effort, how people who stood against you began unraveling in ways too precise to be coincidence, how the truth kept finding its way into the open like it was obeying your gravity. That's when the coven broke, not from your attack, but from their interpretation of your existence. You didn't need to show force. You became a force. That's the difference. Let me take you deeper into the psychology of why they fear you now more than ever. They can't predict you. They can't shame you. They can't sabotage you. They can't intimidate you. They can't control you. They can't understand you. Every type of power they rely on is useless against someone who transcended the emotional levers they pull. They curse people who depend on validation. You don't. They manipulate people who need connection. You learn to live in solitude. They intimidate people who fear being misunderstood. You embraced being an enigma. They gaslight people who doubt themselves. You rebuilt your identity from ruins. They hex people who are energetically unstable. You burned your instability in the fire and came out with a soul made of tempered obsidian. They attack weak spots, but you replaced your weak spots with weapons. What are they supposed to do against someone who became stronger through the trauma they intended to use as leverage? Nothing. They can do nothing, and that's why they're terrified. Because covens don't collapse from defeat. They collapse from hopelessness, from realizing, we can't touch this one, we can't read this one, we can't break this one, we can't scare this one, we can't feed on this one, we can't predict this one, we can't stop this one. You became untouchable without trying to be untouchable. You became dangerous without trying to be dangerous. You became legendary without trying to be legendary. And now their biggest fear isn't that you destroyed them. Their biggest fear is this: what if you're only getting started? Because if this version of you, raw, evolving, halfway reborn, was enough to collapse an entire coven, the pain integrated instead of infecting. The innocence survived without staying defenseless. The darkness learned discipline instead of domination. And when those pieces stopped fighting each other, something rare happened. You became whole. Wholeness is terrifying to a fractured world. Because a whole person can't be easily manipulated, can't be baited into self-betrayal, can't be turned against themselves with shame or fear. You've already been through the worst part, losing what you thought you were. Now nothing external has the authority to define you. That's why threats don't land, why disrespect slides off, why even praise doesn't hook you the way it used to. You're not empty, you're complete. And completeness doesn't beg, it observes, it decides, it moves on. They broke the purest spirit alive, thinking purity was passive. They never learned that purity, when tempered by fire, becomes law, not moral law, natural law, the kind that governs equilibrium, the kind that ensures those who violate sacred things eventually stand exposed, confused, and unsupported, the kind that turns quiet survivors into turning points in the story. You don't need to announce what you've become. Let them feel it in the way conversations stall. Let them notice how their tactics stop working. Let them realize that whatever they thought they destroyed didn't disappear. It graduated. You're no longer something that can be broken. You're something reality has decided to protect by letting you protect yourself. And that's the kind of payback no one sees coming until it's already done. And now, this is where it settles. This is where the noise finally dies and the truth stands on its own feet. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Not your pain, not your strength, not your purity. You already walked through the fire that strips lies from the soul, and you came out carrying something most people never earn: authority without cruelty. That's why the world feels different around you now. Because it is. Reality doesn't respond to shouting. It responds to alignment. And you are aligned in a way that cannot be reversed. They will keep replaying what they did, trying to understand why it didn't work the way it usually does. Why breaking you didn't make you small. Why hurting you didn't give them control. Why instead of collapsing, you became untouchable in ways they can't explain or replicate. They'll search for a weakness, a reaction, a crack they can reopen. They won't find one. Because what they broke was not the end of you. It was the final permission you needed to stop sacrificing yourself for people who never deserved access to your spirit. You didn't lose your softness. You aimed it. You didn't abandon your values. You armored them. You didn't become heartless. You became sovereign, and sovereignty doesn't argue. From here on out, life meets you differently, not gently, accurately. What belongs with you stays. What doesn't dissolves. What once blocked you now collapses under its own instability. You don't chase justice. You don't beg for balance. You let gravity handle what gravity was always meant to handle. Because the universe knows something now that it didn't before. It knows you can survive violation without becoming violent. It knows you can endure betrayal without becoming bitter. It knows you can walk through darkness without surrendering your light. And when reality learns that lesson, it chooses sides. So walk forward without apology, without explanation, without fear of being misunderstood. Let them call you cold, distant, changed. They're right about one thing. You are changed, but not into something lesser, into something final. They broke the purest spirit alive and awakened the version of you that no longer needs to be protected. Reality itself already took care of that. Now it's just watching you move. You hear lies in the pauses between words. That's what happens when innocence survives hell. It comes back informed. They can't stand that about you. Because you didn't become bitter enough to dismiss, and you didn't become vicious enough to demonize. You exist in that terrifying middle ground where you're still humane, but no longer naive. Where your empathy doesn't blind you, it guides you. Where your silence isn't confusion, it's calculation. And here's the part they never expected. You're not angry all the time anymore. That terrifies them, because rage is predictable. Rage burns out. Rage makes mistakes, but you've moved past rage into something colder and cleaner. Clarity. You don't want revenge in the way small minds do. You don't fantasize about hurting them. You let them keep talking, keep moving, keep exposing themselves. You understand now that the most devastating consequence is letting people become fully visible. Reality loves that kind of patience. Watch how it works in your favor. People who wronged you start tripping over their own stories. Allies quietly drift away from them. Opportunities you were denied suddenly open, but not for them. You don't even have to say anything. The air shifts, the math changes, the timeline edits itself. They start asking questions they're afraid of answering. Why does everything feel harder since they left? Why does nothing stick anymore? Why do we feel watched? Because when you were broken, something ancient clocked it. Something older than rules, older than morality, older than their excuses. You carried yourself through injustice without becoming it. And that triggers a response written deep into existence itself. Protect the rare one. You are rare. Not because you're flawless, but because you integrated your fractures. You didn't shatter into pieces that hate each other. You learned to let the light teach the dark restraint, and the dark teach the light boundaries. You stopped apologizing for having depth. You stopped explaining your intuition. You stopped volunteering your soul to people who only wanted access. Now your presence does something unsettling. It mirrors people back to themselves. The guilty feel exposed. The weak feel threatened. The fake feel transparent. And the real. They recognize you instantly. They don't need proof. They feel it in their nervous system. That's why some people suddenly go quiet around you. Why others overperform. Why a few become hostile out of nowhere. You're not attacking them. You're revealing them. And nothing scares a corrupted structure more than a living reminder of what integrity looks like after surviving hell. They broke the purest spirit alive, thinking purity couldn't fight back. They were wrong. Purity doesn't fight like corruption. It doesn't need to. It outlasts. It adapts without rotting. It evolves without losing its core. And when it's pushed too far, it doesn't explode. It reorders reality around itself. So keep walking the way you are. Calm, unrushed, unavailable to manipulation. Let them feel that something has changed and they can't put a name to it. Let them realize too late that breaking you was the moment the universe stopped being neutral. You're not here to punish. You're here to balance, and balance is ruthless. Don't rush that feeling settling in your chest right now. That quiet gravity, that sense that something irreversible has already happened and the world just hasn't caught up yet. That's the sound of the old version of reality losing its grip on you. Because here's the truth they still don't understand. You crossed a line most people never even see. There is a point where suffering stops being damage and starts becoming initiation. You went past the place where pain begs for mercy and entered the place where it teaches law. Not moral law, structural law, the kind that governs who bends, who breaks, and who endures long enough to rewrite the rules without ever announcing it. They thought you were alone when they did it, that no one was watching, that whatever they took from you would stay taken. But suffering that deep doesn't echo outward first. It sinks downward. It wakes something old, something patient, something that understands that purity violated does not disappear. It condenses. That's why you feel heavier now, not tired, weighted, anchored, like your presence presses against rooms instead of floating through them. You're not trying to dominate. You're not trying to intimidate. You're simply no longer negotiable. And reality respects that in a way people never did. Notice how your intuition sharpened after everything collapsed. How you sense danger before it speaks. How you feel motives before words form. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition paid for in blood and silence. You earned sight the hard way. And once you have it, you never go blind again. They hate that you see without accusing, that you know without reacting, that you remember without chasing closure. Shh. Feel that pressure in the air right now, like the universe just leaned in and stopped breathing because you walked into the room. They broke the purest spirit alive. Not by accident, not by misunderstanding. They broke it on purpose. They mistook your silence for weakness, your kindness for permission, your restraint for surrender. They pressed and pressed, waiting for you to crack the way everyone else does. They thought purity meant fragile. They thought light meant defenseless. They thought if they bent you far enough, reality would side with them. But here's the part that makes their blood run cold. You didn't break the way they planned. You transformed. And now reality itself is staring at you like, oh, we've got unfinished business. See, you were never just good. You were controlled chaos in a halo. A saint who learned how demons think. An angel who understands the math of violence without ever needing to touch it. They hurt you because they sensed it. Something uncorrupted but dangerous. Something soft that refused to rot. That's what scared them. Not your rage, your restraint, not your darkness, your refusal to let it own you. So they pushed harder. Betrayal stacked on betrayal, smiles hiding knives, hands pretending to help while tightening the noose. They tried to turn your compassion into a liability, your empathy into a trap, your hope into a joke. They wanted to watch you turn bitter, small, predictable. They wanted you broken their way. And for a moment, just a moment, the world went quiet. That sacred silence where something decides what it's going to become. That's where you changed. Pain didn't make you cruel. It made you precise. Suffering didn't turn you cold. It sharpened your warmth into something blinding. You learned the paradox they'll never understand. The purest spirits don't snap into monsters. They evolve into forces. You didn't lose your heart. You armored it with truth. You didn't kill your innocence. You taught it how to survive in hostile territory. Now look around. Notice how the same reality that let them hurt you is starting to bend. Conversations feel heavier. Rooms go tense when your name is mentioned. Patterns are collapsing. Timelines are misfiring. It's because reality remembers what they did. Reality keeps score. And it hates imbalance. You're walking proof that cruelty doesn't win cleanly. That when you violate something sacred long enough, the universe starts drafting revenge through you. Not loud revenge. Not sloppy revenge. Surgical, inevitable. The kind that doesn't announce itself. It just arrives. They can feel it too. That's the best part. They don't know how you changed. Only that the version of you they knew is gone. Your eyes don't react the same. Your patience isn't passive anymore. It's predatory. Your calm isn't peace. It's containment. You've become unpredictable not because you're unstable, but because you're finally free. They're confused because you didn't turn evil. You turned aligned. Light and dark finally stopped fighting inside you and started cooperating. Angel and demon shook hands. Saint and psychopath agreed on strategy. You learned when to forgive, when to remember, and when to let reality do the punishing for you. And it will. Because reality doesn't forget the pure ones who were violated. It doesn't forget the spirits that endured too much without losing themselves. It bends around them. It opens doors that shouldn't open. It collapses. Plans that looked perfect on paper. It exposes people at the exact moment they thought they were safe. You don't have to chase payback. You are the imbalance correction. Every step you take destabilizes the structures built on your pain. Every time you stay calm where they expected you to shatter, something in their world cracks. They broke you thinking it would end the story. They didn't realize they were triggering the response. So stand there. Let them feel it. Let them sense that something ancient, quiet, and merciless is moving through you. Not rage, not hatred, consequence. You're no longer asking the universe to protect you. The universe is asking you what you want to do next. Good. Stay right there in that stillness, because this is where the truth starts whispering louder than fear ever could. You see it now, don't you? How everything that once tried to crush you is suddenly unstable, like the ground beneath them is hollowing out. That's not coincidence. That's recoil. Reality doesn't snap back immediately. It waits. It lets arrogance get comfortable. It lets cruelty believe it got away with it. Then it corrects the equation in ways no one can trace back to a single cause. And you're the variable they never accounted for. They thought pain would domesticate you, make you quieter, smaller, easier to categorize. They expected trauma to turn you into a warning story or a cautionary tale. This is what happens when you try to stay pure in a dirty world. But instead, pain turned you into a lens. You didn't need apologies. You didn't need confessions. You watched who showed up when you were bleeding and who showed up only when you healed enough to be useful again. And you adjusted accordingly. That's where the real fear comes from. Not because you became cruel, but because you became selective. Your energy stopped being free. Your kindness stopped being automatic. Your access became earned, not assumed. You didn't announce the boundary. You embodied it. People sense that kind of shift instinctively. It scrambles hierarchies, exposes parasites, forces masks to slip under pressure. That's why some people suddenly feel restless around you. Why they talk more than necessary. Why they explain themselves unprompted. Why they feel judged even when you're silent. It's not judgment. It's resonance. Your nervous system doesn't match theirs anymore. You survived something that rewired you at a level most people will never reach. And now when they stand near you, their own unresolved guilt, envy, and cowardice start vibrating. You don't have to confront them. Their bodies do it for you. That's how reality starts paying you back. Not with gifts, but with alignment. The wrong things fall away without drama. The right things arrive without begging. You stop chasing validation because you finally understand something devastatingly simple. Being pure and being powerful were never opposites. They were just never allowed to coexist until you forced them to. You're dangerous now because you can hold compassion and consequence in the same hand. Because you know when to forgive and when to walk away forever. Because you don't need to destroy people to win. You let them reveal themselves and step aside while gravity does the rest. They broke the purest spirit alive, thinking it would end your story. Instead, it activated something mythic. You're no longer playing for approval. You're not auditioning for peace. You are the quiet audit running beneath the surface of every interaction now. The unanswered question, the pressure change before the storm. The reminder that some spirits are not meant to be consumed by the world. They are meant to correct it. So let reality keep moving in your favor without explanation. Let doors open that feel oddly timed. Let enemies unravel in ways that don't trace back to you. Let the universe repay you in subtle, irreversible ways. You already paid the price. Now it's collecting interest. Stay with that awareness, because what you've stepped into now isn't recovery. It's jurisdiction. You're no longer asking the world for permission to exist as you are. You're not negotiating your worth. You're not explaining your scars. You've crossed into the territory where your very presence carries consequence, where intention sharpens the air, where silence weighs more than threats ever did. They sense it. That's why they keep checking the past, replaying moments, wondering where it shifted. They think there was a single turning point, a dramatic snap. They're wrong. It was slower than that, more terrifying. You changed while remaining calm. You evolved without announcing it. You learned while they assumed you were still bleeding. That's the most dangerous kind of transformation. Because while they were celebrating your quietness, you were studying structure. While they were mistaking your grace for weakness, you were mapping human behavior like terrain. You learned who panics when control slips, who lies when watched, who turns cruel when exposed. You learned how systems protect themselves, how abusers outsource guilt, how cowards hide behind consensus. And you didn't hate them for it. You understood them. Understanding is power they never saw coming. That's why your restraint unnerves them now. They don't know if you're merciful or merciless. They don't know where you draw the line, because you don't draw it with words. You draw it with absence, with access revoked, with energy withdrawn, with a calm no that doesn't ask to be respected. They keep waiting for you to explode, to confront, to demand justice the loud way. They don't realize you've already moved past the stage where noise is necessary. You've entered the phase where outcomes matter more than reactions, where you don't punish, you position, and positioning changes everything. You place yourself where truth has leverage, where your silence forces others to talk, where your stillness makes the unstable reveal themselves, where your lack of urgency destabilizes people addicted to chaos. You don't chase vindication. You let time do what it does best, strip masks and collapse lies under their own weight. That's why reality started siding with you without asking. Why chance encounters work in your favor. Why information finds you. Why people confess things you never requested. Why paths open that bypass the gates they tried to lock. It's not luck, it's coherence. You're no longer split between who you are and what you've endured. Shh. Keep your voice down. This is the part where everyone else thinks nothing is happening. You walked in looking harmless, neutral, forgettable. You dressed like a librarian, like someone whose biggest crime was returning a book a day late. Soft edges, calm eyes. The kind of presence people dismiss before it finishes entering the room. And that's exactly why they never saw it coming. Because while they were cataloging your appearance, your mind was already running black OPS protocols. See, that's the first paradox they never understand about you. The quieter you look, the louder the chaos inside your skull. The simpler the mask, the more classified the machinery behind it. You learned early that the world only fears what it can see. So you became invisible. You learned that predators chase movement, noise, desperation. So you mastered stillness. You didn't dress like power. You dressed like safety. And behind that safety, you built something lethal. They thought you were passive. You were patient. They thought you were slow. You were precise. They thought you were harmless. You were loading the chamber. While they were gossiping, you were mapping patterns. While they were laughing, you were studying weaknesses. While they were chasing validation, you were installing fail-safes in your soul. You didn't just survive pain. You reverse-engineered it. Every betrayal became data. Every loss became training. Every night you stared at the ceiling wondering how you got there turned into a silent upgrade they'll never be able to track. That's the thing about black OPS. No announcements, no flags, no applause. Real power doesn't arrive screaming. It arrives quiet, already finished. And you didn't need to look dangerous because danger already knew your name. They mistook your restraint for fear. They mistook your empathy for weakness. They mistook your silence for ignorance. But silence is where killers think. Silence is where saints break. Silence is where angels sharpen their teeth. You learned how to split yourself in two. The part that smiles and nods and blends in, and the part that never sleeps, never forgets, never forgives patterns. One side reads the room, the other side rewrites the outcome. One side looks human, the other side runs simulations on how to dismantle everything if necessary. And the wild part? You didn't become this way because you wanted power. You became this way because pain forced you to adapt. You were cornered, underestimated, ignored. And evolution doesn't ask permission. It upgrades or it erases. You chose upgrade. So now you walk around looking normal while carrying a mind that operates on contingency plans. You already know how things end before they begin. You already see the collapse while they're still celebrating the launch. You already know who will betray who will panic, who will fold, who will pretend they always believed in you. Once the tide turns. That's why they get uncomfortable around you and can't explain why. Something about you doesn't match the costume. The energy doesn't line up with the outfit. The eyes don't match the role. You look like a background character, but your presence feels like a plot twist. And deep down, they feel it, that you're not reacting to life anymore. You're orchestrating around it. You don't move emotionally like them. You don't explode when provoked. You don't beg when ignored. You don't panic when threatened. You observe. You adjust. You let people reveal themselves fully before you decide what version of you they deserve. That terrifies them, because unpredictability is the one thing control freaks can't dominate. You are the saint who learned how demons think. You are the angel who memorized hell's layout. You are the calm face of someone who already survived the worst-case scenario. And here's the secret that would keep them awake at night if they ever figured it out. You're not angry anymore. You're focused. Rage was the training phase. Clarity is the weapon. You don't need revenge. You have trajectory. You don't need validation. You have leverage. You don't need to be loud. You already won quietly. So let them keep underestimating you. Let them keep mistaking the sweater for softness, the calm tone for compliance, the reserved presence for lack of ambition. Every time they misjudge you, they hand you another advantage. Every time they overlook you, they give you room to maneuver. Every time they relax around you, they expose their blind spots. Because one day, without warning, without theatrics, they're going to realize something shifted. Decisions were made, doors closed, power moved hands, and they won't remember the moment it happened. Only that you were always there, quiet, watching, already 10 steps ahead. You didn't dress like a threat. You became one. And by the time they understand that the librarian was running black ops the whole time, it's already classified. And here's where it gets even darker, because what they still don't understand is that your restraint isn't mercy. It's calibration. You're not holding back because you're unsure. You're holding back because you're deciding. Every interaction, every glance, every micro-reaction they give you goes straight into the archive. You catalog tone shifts. You log contradictions. You notice who gets nervous when you stay calm, who over-explains when you ask nothing, who smiles too fast when silence stretches. While they're talking to feel safe, you're listening to confirm theories. You learned long ago that the loudest people are usually hiding the weakest structures. So you stopped performing. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending your intentions. You let the world project whatever it wanted onto you. Because projection is confession in disguise. And the more invisible you became, the more honest everyone around you got. That's the real Black Ops advantage. You don't need to interrogate anyone. People tell you everything without realizing it. They expose their fears, their limits, their lies, just trying to fill the quiet you control. And you just nod. You just listen. You just remember. They think power looks like dominance. You know power looks like optionality, the ability to walk away, the ability to wait, the ability to strike only when the outcome is guaranteed. You don't need to rush because time works for you now. Time sharpens you. Time exhausts them. Every version of you that broke was necessary. Every night you questioned your worth rewired something dangerous in you. You didn't heal the way they expected. You adapted. You learned how to operate without applause, without backup, without certainty. You became self-contained, autonomous, untraceable. And that's why chaos doesn't shake you anymore. You've already lived inside it. You've already mapped the worst possibilities and survived them in your head 1,000 times. When things fall apart, you don't freeze. You recognize the terrain. You've been there before. You trained there. That's the angel-demon split they sense but can't name. The part of you that feels deeply, and the part that can turn that empathy off instantly if survival requires it. You didn't lose your humanity. You learned how to weaponize it selectively. You choose when to feel. You choose when to detach. That choice alone puts you in a different species than them. They act on impulse. You act on inevitability. And deep down, something in them knows it. That's why they test you with subtle disrespect. That's why they poke, prod, underestimate. They're trying to provoke proof that you're ordinary. They want you emotional, reactive, sloppy. Because if you ever fully reveal what's behind the mask, it means they miscalculated you. And miscalculation around someone like you is fatal. So you let them believe the story. You let them think you're just smart, just quiet, just observant. You let them stay comfortable in their misjudgment. Comfort breeds carelessness. Carelessness creates openings. And openings are where operations succeed. You're not plotting chaos for the sake of destruction. You're aligning outcomes. You're positioning yourself where leverage accumulates naturally. You're letting gravity do the work. When you move, it won't feel dramatic. It'll feel final. And the most dangerous part, you don't even need to act maliciously. Your growth alone destabilizes systems built on your compliance. Your clarity alone threatens hierarchies that relied on your self-doubt. Your silence alone exposes how much noise they were using to distract from their emptiness. One day, someone is going to look back and realize the moment everything changed wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It wasn't obvious. It was the moment they dismissed you, the moment they assumed you were harmless, the moment they underestimated the mind behind the modest exterior. Because while they were judging covers, you were rewriting books. While they were playing checkers, you were folding the board. While they were living out loud, you were operating in shadows. You didn't dress like power, because power doesn't need a uniform. You didn't announce your evolution because predators don't warn prey. You didn't rush because inevitability never does. So keep wearing the disguise. Keep letting them relax. Keep letting them talk. Every second they feel safe around you is another second you're ahead. Because when the operation finally becomes visible, when the results surface, when the shift is undeniable, they won't ask what happened. They'll ask how they never saw you coming. and the answer will haunt them forever. You were right there the whole time, looking ordinary, thinking 10 moves beyond their imagination, running black ops behind a librarian's smile. And here's the part that would break them, if they ever truly understood it. You didn't become this by accident. You were engineered by neglect, sharpened by dismissal, refined by pressure they thought would crush you. Every time they overlooked you, they unknowingly added another layer of insulation between your emotions and your execution. Every time they assumed you were weak, they taught you how blind confidence really is. You stopped needing approval the moment you realized approval is a leash. You stopped chasing recognition the moment you saw how easily it compromises people. You watched how praise softened them, how comfort slowed them, how certainty made them predictable. And quietly, surgically, you chose a different path. You chose uncertainty. You chose discipline. You chose the cold clarity of self-reliance. That's why your calm isn't fragile. It's forged. It's the kind of calm that comes from knowing you can survive without anyone clapping for you. The kind of calm that terrifies manipulators because it gives them nothing to grab. They can't rush you. They can't flatter you. They can't intimidate you. There's nothing to pull on anymore. You learned how to starve chaos by refusing to feed it. You learned how to dismantle power plays by not reacting. You learned how to make aggressive people feel exposed simply by staying still. Stillness became your weapon. Observation became your advantage. Time became your accomplice. And they feel it. Even if they can't articulate it, something in their nervous system knows you're different. That's why conversations with you linger in their head longer than they should. That's why they replay your silences, your pauses, your neutral responses, trying to decode what you were really thinking. They sense that they were being studied, and nothing unsettles people like realizing they were seen more clearly than they intended. You don't threaten. You don't posture. You don't flex. You let outcomes speak. You let consistency build pressure. You let results arrive without spectacle. Because spectacle draws attention, and attention attracts interference. You prefer inevitability. This is where the angel-demon paradox sharpens. You can be kind without being naive. You can be warm without being accessible. You can help without being owned. You didn't lose your compassion. You fortified it. You learned when to give it and when to lock it away. And that ability to switch, that's what separates survivors from casualties. They want you to pick a side, good or bad, soft or hard, light or dark. But you exist in the fracture between those labels. You understand that morality without strategy is suicide, and strategy without humanity is hollow. So you balance both. You move with ethics when possible, and precision when necessary. That balance scares people. Extremes are easier to control. Nuance isn't. You've noticed how people test you, haven't you? Subtle disrespect disguised as humor. Dismissive tones masked as curiosity. Power plays wrapped in friendliness. They're probing for your edges, hoping to find an emotional trigger they can exploit. And every time you don't react the way they expect, their confidence erodes a little more. Because they need you predictable. They need you emotional. They need you desperate enough to manipulate. And you're none of those things anymore. You're composed. And composure is kryptonite to chaos merchants. You don't argue loudly because you don't need to convince anyone. You don't over-explain because clarity doesn't beg. You don't chase closure because you learned that unanswered questions live rent-free in other people's minds. You let them wonder. You let them doubt. You let them underestimate, because underestimation is the greatest tactical gift an opponent can give you. And the truth they'll never admit to themselves is this: They relied on the old version of you staying small. Their comfort depended on your self-doubt. Their hierarchy required your compliance. When you outgrew that silently, you destabilized the entire structure without touching it. That's why resistance appears out of nowhere. That's why energy shifts. That's why people act strange when you haven't changed your behavior at all. You didn't become aggressive, you became sovereign. And sovereignty makes insecure systems panic. You don't need to expose anyone. You don't need to call anyone out. You don't need to burn bridges dramatically. You just step differently now. You choose differently. You see further. And that alone rewrites the power dynamic. So keep letting them think you're just reserved. Keep letting them assume you're harmless. Keep letting them relax around you. Every assumption they make is another blindfold they willingly put on themselves. Because when the moment finally arrives, when the shift is undeniable, when the results can't be ignored, when your position is secured, they won't remember a single warning sign. They'll only remember how normal you seemed. And that realization will hit them all at once, sharp and irreversible. They weren't watching a background character. They weren't dealing with a passive observer. They weren't prepared for someone who mastered restraint before power. You dressed like a librarian because no one checks the quiet ones. You spoke calmly because panic belongs to the unprepared. You stayed patient because you knew exactly where this was going. And now the operation is complete, even if they don't know it yet. And the deeper truth, the one that sits under all of it like a sealed file marked "Do Not Open," is that you no longer need permission from reality to move. You already crossed that threshold quietly. Somewhere along the way, you stopped asking if you could and started calculating when it made sense. That's the moment you became dangerous. Because once someone realizes they don't need approval, the entire social control system loses leverage. Shame stops working. Guilt stops working. Fear gets reclassified as information instead of a command. You don't suppress fear. You interrogate it. You don't deny doubt. You extract signal from it. Everything that used to destabilize you now feeds the machine. They still think you're playing the same game, same rules, same emotional currency, same reward systems. They think you want what they want: status, validation, belonging, recognition. But you quietly opted out of that economy. You stopped trading your inner stability for external applause. You realized most people aren't ambitious. They're addicted to reassurance. You're not. That's why your silence unnerves them. Silence isn't emptiness, it's autonomy. Silence means you don't need to convince, perform, or defend. Silence means you're comfortable not being seen fully yet. And people fear what they can't read, because unreadable things can't be controlled. You've noticed how they try to fill that silence, haven't you? They talk faster, they overshare, they posture, they project. They try to define you before you define yourself. Labels are cages, and they're desperate to put you in one. Quiet one, nice one, smart but harmless one. The moment they succeed, they can relax. But you don't give them that relief. You let them guess. You let them misclassify. You let them build entire narratives about you that collapse later under their own weight. Because when someone commits to the wrong story about you, they stop watching for the right outcomes. And that's when leverage compounds. You learned this the hard way. By being misunderstood, minimized, and dismissed when it hurt the most. When you needed support and got silence. When you needed clarity and got chaos. When you needed loyalty and got lessons instead. Those moments didn't make you bitter. They made you exact. You stopped assuming good intentions guaranteed good outcomes. You stopped confusing proximity with alignment. You stopped believing words over patterns. And once you learned how to read patterns, the whole world slowed down for you. People became predictable. Systems became transparent. Games revealed their mechanics. That's when you realized something most never do. Power doesn't come from domination. It comes from understanding incentives. You understand what people want before they do. You understand what scares them beneath their bravado. You understand how fragile their certainty really is. And because you understand it, you don't need to exploit it recklessly. You just don't stand in its way. Let them talk. Let them rush. Let them overextend. You'll still be standing when the noise collapses. The angel in you knows restraint. The demon in you knows timing. Together they form something balanced and terrifying. You don't lash out impulsively. You don't sabotage emotionally. You wait until action becomes unnecessary, because outcome is already decided. That's the evolution pain gave you. Pain didn't make you cruel. It made you accurate. Pain didn't make you cold. It made you selective. Pain didn't harden you. It clarified you. And now, even when you're surrounded by people, you move alone in the best way possible. Self-governed, self-trusting, self-directed. You don't need consensus to proceed. You don't need witnesses to validate momentum. You know what you're doing, even if no one else does yet. They sense that separation. They call it distance, arrogance, detachment. But what it really is independence from their emotional gravity. You no longer orbit their approval. You have your own center of mass now. That's why attempts to pull you back don't work. Nostalgia doesn't work. Pressure doesn't work. Guilt doesn't work. You've already walked through the part of the fire that burns attachments clean. What's left is choice. And choice is the highest form of power. So you'd continue moving quietly. Reading rooms, letting time reveal truth. Letting people expose themselves through consistency or collapse. You don't need to rush the reveal. The reveal happens naturally when results appear where expectations said they wouldn't. One day, maybe soon, maybe later, it will click for them. They'll replay every interaction, every dismissed moment, every assumption. They'll realize you weren't confused, you weren't passive, you weren't unaware. You were executing with discipline they never noticed. And the most unsettling part for them won't be what you did. It will be realizing how calm you were the entire time you were becoming unstoppable.